Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do, or...?
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day! And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, happy Monday, December 9th, 2024. We are presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, where you never reach into your pocket to pay a penny. No, friends, you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case at theadvocates.com. Did the College Football Playoff Committee screw Alabama football? I think it is the number one question in America sports today. And I have to tell you, I'm not sure. I can see it both ways. I understand why Alabama football fans are upset this morning. But I watched every snap of that ACC championship game. I thought it was really compelling. But I don't know that there is an argument to be made that SMU is more deserving than Alabama. And I think that's the thing that I am struggling with. And the conversation I think we need to have this morning is how important is strength of schedule. Ward Manuel, the chairman of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, straight up sat on ESPN last night and said strength of schedule is vitally important. It's something that we really considered. Then how is Alabama out of the college football playoff and SMU is in? That I don't understand. And if you look at all these rankings that we're going to get into and the seeding and the slotting and the matchups, how on earth, if you value strength of schedule and it is a key component to the way that you made these decisions, how on earth is SMU in over Alabama? That I cannot reconcile. And we can sit here and we can talk about how much you hate Alabama football and how much you hate the SEC and how tired of them they are. Don't sit here and make the argument that strength of schedule is a critical component and then put in SMU over Alabama. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, did Alabama lose to Oklahoma ugly late in the season in November? They did. And I think it was absolutely a knockout shot for Alabama football. But Ward Manuel, in my opinion, is a liar and a hypocrite. I don't believe two words that comes out of his mouth. I can't believe he got a contract extension at Michigan. So when he sits here and tells me that strength of schedule matters, I do not believe him. I just don't. I think that this College Football Playoff Committee bent the knee to public sentiment instead of putting the 12 best teams in the playoff. I think it's as simple as that. If strength of schedule mattered, BYU would be in the college football playoff. If strength of schedule mattered, Boise State would not have a first-round bye. It's embarrassing to me, in my opinion, that we have a college football playoff ranking and championship program that does not include strength of schedule. And Jake, I think it is the single biggest weakness in this entire process.
Absolutely. And I think every year we have teams who are seemingly excluded from the college football playoff, but we're not really sure why. And obviously last year with Florida State, we had a pretty clear picture as to why. It was obviously the injury to Jordan Travis. But I think this year, with Alabama, I think the hard part is that, the SEC, you can't have it both ways. Last week with the rankings, everyone said, all the hyenas were like, oh, well, there's SEC bias. And gosh, the College Football Playoff Committee just wants to favor the SEC. But now this week, Alabama's not in, and I don't see any of those hyenas, complaining about SEC bias. So I just think that they sat up there and they said, hey, the SEC's got plenty of representation. We don't want to be seen to be biased towards the SEC, and we're gonna try to find a way around that. And I don't care what Ward Manuel says on ESPN and any conversation he has publicly with the media. I don't believe for a second that he and that whole committee don't sit there and say to themselves, okay, well, we want to make sure we don't skew this thing too heavy towards the SEC, but we got to make sure that the best teams are in the college football playoffs. So I would agree. It's kind of hard to watch Ward Manuel sit up there and be like, oh yeah, strength of schedule matters, but yeah, let's go ahead and keep Alabama out. It only leads us down one path, which is the college football playoff committee is doing what human beings do innately, which is we're going to try and put together the best college football playoff that we can, but we're also going to take into account external factors like public sentiment about the SEC, like the fact that Alabama has a winning culture and should be in there every single year, apparently, except for this year. So that's where I say, I just think when you have human beings making decisions, you're going to get massive inconsistency. And I think Alabama this year is the perfect example of that inconsistency.
Yeah, and I think the anti-SEC bias played into the emotions of the college football playoff selection committee. I don't know how else you explain it. Because I think, what are the great stories in this bracket? I don't think there's any doubt that Arizona State is one of the best stories in all of college sports.
Right.
I think in all of sports, period. My guy, Dilly, I think is one of the most inspirational, inspiring, really great young leaders in all of athletics. I think what you see out of Dilly, I love it. The sore thumb here is Boise State, in my opinion. The sore thumb here is the fact that Penn State gets a free pass in the first two rounds of the playoff. The sore thumb, in my opinion, is that Indiana is in here at all. And I understand that record matters. But if you're beating the worst teams in your conference and you lose to the only quality opponent you played, how does it make any sense at all that Indiana is in the college football playoff? Because strength of schedule does not matter. It doesn't matter. And I largely, again, how is Notre Dame one of the 5 best teams in the country according to the college football playoff committee? That's the one where I'm like, how on earth does that matter? You can't tell me strength of schedule plays into this at all and then slot Notre Dame 5th.
Yeah, and that's why I think that the idea that Ward Manuel is going to sit up there and say that it is a joke. I mean, you can't with a straight face sit there and be like, oh yeah, strength of schedule matters, but then have all these examples through the bracket you've put together where you've got really weak schedule after really weak schedule. And I'm sure, and we'll get to the comment section in a few minutes, I am sure Boise State defender is in here talking all their junk. The reality is that you're beating up on bad teams, man.
Yes.
That's the reality of the situation. And no, I don't think Ashton Jeanty should be the Heisman, dude. No, I don't. He plays one side of the ball and he plays Mountain West competition. Just the same way I can say that SMU or Notre Dame or Indiana shouldn't be in the college football playoff because you haven't played anybody, man. And I don't know why it's so taboo in sports culture to say, oh, yeah, wow, man, Oregon's 13-0, 14-0 now. But who did they really play? Well, they played Ohio State, and then they played Penn State. Okay.
Yeah.
So at least they have a couple of games that you can point to and say, yeah, those are legitimate wins. Can't take it from them. But I just think we have such an aversion to saying something like, oh, yeah, well, Ashton Jeanty is going to struggle to win the Heisman because he plays, inferior competition to other Heisman candidates. Or this team shouldn't be in because they played nobody, Indiana. Like, I don't know why that's so taboo, but seemingly it is. And I do think, to your point, the college football playoff doesn't, like Ward Manuel said yesterday in the morning, right after the rankings came out, that the college football playoff committee sits in that room and does not consider seeding when they put the rankings together. He's talking about the fact that, hey, he said 4 times with Reese Davis yesterday morning, hey, we don't consider, or we've been tasked with putting together the top 25 teams in the country. And through that process, coming up with the 12 best teams in the country for the playoff. And basically saying the seeding falls where it falls, right? We're going to come up with 1 through 12, and the seeding is the seeding. I don't believe that, though, because when you look at the bracket, it's written all over their face that that's not true.
And how do you have Boise State? What were they, as high as 9th, I think?
At one point, yes. Yes.
How is Boise State? You really want to make the argument that Boise State's one of the 9 best teams in the country? Do you really want to make the argument that Boise State is on par with Tennessee? That, hell, throw out Alabama. You really believe? And I don't know if most people just don't watch Boise State football. And again, I admit that I have no life, and most Saturdays all I do is sit and veg and watch college football. I've watched a lot of Boise State football. I do not believe they belong in the same discussion with middle tier SEC team. I watching that UNLV game, their offensive line does not belong in the same conversation as Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Texas A&M even. I don't believe that LSU would lose to Boise State. Boise State is not on par with LSU.
Right.
I don't believe Boise State's on par with South Carolina. So somebody make me the argument. Somebody tell me how on earth this fraudulent college football playoff committee had Boise State ranked 9th in the country at one point, and that absolutely decimated far more deserving teams. BYU versus Boise State, yes, I agree. That's a compelling matchup. You want to put them in the middle of the – does Boise State beat Minnesota? Probably. Yeah. Does Boise State beat Purdue? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Boise State's good enough to be in a power conference. Let's be clear.
I agree with that.
I don't think that Boise State's good enough to beat most of the college football playoff teams that we have in the bracket. And I also want to say before, again, all the hyenas come out and say that we hate Boise State because we're somehow an SEC show.
But that's not the conversation we're having.
But I think that's the reaction, though. And
I agree with you.
The reaction is, oh, well, you guys hate Boise State or you hate this. Because remember the Florida State thing last year. Oh, you guys hate Florida State. No, we don't hate Florida State. Your boy broke his arm or whatever, his leg, and couldn't play. Like, it is what it is.
Do you understand the middle of the SEC? And I'm fine with the fact that most garden variety Boise State fans don't watch SEC football. I'm okay with that. But do you understand how good Ole Miss's defense is? Have you spent 25 seconds? If we look at the defensive numbers, and you look at the way that Ole Miss plays defense, because Ole Miss, I think, is a fringe college football playoff contender.
Yeah,
I don't think that they have the resume to get in. But I can tell you right now, they are significantly better. And I've probably seen 85% of Ole Miss's snaps this year.
Just look at their schedule. Look who they beat.
But when you watch that defense, they're not UNLV's defense. They're not missing tackles. They're not getting blown away in the hole. This is a family show. They're not overrunning the line of scrimmage like UNLV did repeatedly the other night. Ole Miss's defense is fast and physical and disciplined. I look at Alabama's defense. Did they lose to Oklahoma? They did. Does Alabama have limitations? Yeah, I don't believe that Jalen Milroe can throw you to a win. Alabama's twice as good as Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
They're bigger. They're way deeper. They're way faster. Is Ashton Ginty one of the best running backs in the country? Yes. Would he start on pretty much every team? Yes.
But the difference is playing Alabama, you're not going to run dudes over. That's the difference. You're going to have to fight for every yard you want to get. And I think your point about UNLV is well said. Credit to Boise State. You beat the hell out of UNLV. It's a great job by you. You did what you did, in my opinion, what you should have done, but you had to go out and prove it, and you did it again. So credit to you. But I just think that whether it's Boise State fan or whoever you want to point to, right? We obviously have numerous examples. The defense mechanism that pops up when you say, oh, well, hey, you don't really have a way to stake a claim to the CFP outside of the fact that you won the Mountain West. And, when I look at the seeding, I don't know how you're seated where you are. You should be seated 12th, in my opinion.
Boise State, this elite team, Boise State, that Boise State fan wants to tell you is as good as any team in the country, yet plays your mom and her cousin every week. Do you guys understand that they're ranked 62nd in total defense in the country?
Against?
In FBS, they're ranked 62nd. Do you understand that Boise State gives up 5.6 yards a play and 361 yards a game?
Come on,
against quite literally subpar opponents. And then you this is why I bring up Ole Miss. They give up 4.5 yards a play and 313 yards a game in the SEC. And you cannot physically possibly in your right mind, sir, sit here and tell me that the Mountain West is comparable to the SEC. Because if you do, I just don't know where that conversation goes, other than I'm going to laugh at you.
Yeah, you're just uneducated.
You just don't know college football.
Yeah.
You cannot put Boise State in the same conversation with Ole Miss.
Unless you're the college football playoff committee. And then
you can apparently do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. And so you texted me yesterday, this Ward Manual thing. I think it's a perfect point, and I think it exemplifies everything that we as college football fans go through, which is Ward Manual sitting up there talking about how strength of schedule matters is insulting to the garden variety college football fan. And it is. And I think that the Ward Manual, whether it was at Michigan or with the college football playoff and this bracket they've put out, is a master deceiver. I think that this guy will never allow anybody to know what actually happens in that room.
No.
And I think that the thing that really stands out to me is that if you're Greg Sankey sitting here watching this, you're not going to forget that Alabama's out, even though their strength of schedule is superior to most of the teams in here. You're not going to forget this when it comes back around and you're negotiating with the other conferences, or you're, trying to figure out this Super League concept that we've talked so much about. And I just think that college football is awesome, and I love it, and it's so entertaining. It's one of the best things that we get to watch on a week in and week out basis. This particular year, I've been more tuned into college football than I've ever been, more so than the NFL, which is a thing for me. I'm more of an NFL guy typically. So I think the product works. The problem is that now we're going to get into a situation where at some point Boise State's going to get boat raced. I have no question about that. I think that you're going to run into a team that's bigger and stronger and faster.
Look at Penn State.
Like, come on.
As much heat as I've put on Drew Aller this year, Penn State offensively, you want to talk about compare and contrast. Boise State, Penn State. Penn State completes 69% of their passes. Boise State, 62%. You want to know how good Colorado's offense is? Colorado completes 74% of their passes. Boise State completes 62. Okay, the best versus not the best. Middle of the Ole Miss. Boise State, who is 50th in completion percentage. 50th. Against a crappy schedule. 62% of their passes complete. 67% for Ole Miss. That a fringe, not elite SEC team. Like, I look at Washington. Mid-table Big Ten team. Against this juggernaut Boise State, Washington completes 72% of their passes. Like, the Big Ten, does Boise State finish top 6 in the Big Ten? I don't think they do. Do they finish top half of the Big 12? I don't think they do.
Yeah, Big 12's got a lot of physical defense in it.
Does Boise State finish top half of the ACC? I think they do. Notice I haven't said 2 words about SMU, who I don't think in my opinion, should be in the college football playoff. SMU's a better football team than Boise State is. Is it close? It's very close. You know why I give SMU more of a nod than Boise State? SMU's got a baller at quarterback.
More ways to win.
I think it's as simple as that. I guess the way to put a bow around this is this college football playoff committee lied to your face and you believe it. Ward Manuel lied to your face, in my opinion, when he said strength of schedule matters. Then how do you have Boise State ever ranked ahead of BYU and in the top 10 nationally with the, I think, 62nd strength of schedule?
Yeah, because that's the issue. I mean, it's not an issue that they're in. They won. They're the highest ranked G5. But
and you look at these. You look at the rankings, and if you go to week 13, let's say, and you look at the fact that Boise State starts in the top 12 in week 13, week 14. Boise State moves from 12 to 11. One spot. Okay. How about week 15? Boise State still in the top 10. Week 16. Boise State now 9th. They're moving up. Everybody else is playing much more difficult schedules. Boise State just keeps moving up. And you have them top 9. So again, lie to my face, Ward, right? At least give me a reach around. Tell me that strength of schedule matters.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. It doesn't. And this is the part that I think we can all agree upon. What did the college football playoff committee, what is the unspoken message here? Because here's the quiet part out loud. Do not schedule up. Do not schedule big non-conference games. Do not schedule anybody but Mercer in the Citadel. Don't do it. Do not do it. Because if you schedule Notre Dame, or if you schedule that, hey, Oregon, and you pick your SEC poison.
Right.
Oregon, don't you goddamn dare schedule Alabama. Because what's the payoff? Why would you do that? When if I look at Boise State, they got a first round bye playing the Girl Scouts. They got a first round bye playing Pop Warner teams. Notre Dame into the college football playoff as a 5 seed. And again, I only say this because I want you to understand I'm a passionate, diehard Notre Dame fan. Notre Dame is not the 5th best team in the country. Because that's what you're telling us. When you rank them, when you put them in this order, and you tell me that Notre Dame is they're not. How?
Yeah.
How is Indiana there? But you know what that is? That's an in-state rivalry now. And we're making matchups. SMU and Penn State. James Franklin, are you going to win a game? James
I don't know.
Franklin's
Can you do the press conference after the game?
Bro, did you see this James Franklin press conference? This has nothing to do with rubbing yourself naked against other dudes in the Penn State locker room.
My bad.
James Franklin doesn't win big games. And then when he has to do a press conference after losing another big game, it does not go well.
Great. We can start right here in the front row.
How's this a smart setup?
Yeah. This is for Drew. Wait. We can hang tight for just a second. We'll try to get that audio turned down next door.
I got no issue with them celebrating, but this is kind of a JV setup.
Well, win the game. Do you guys understand what that was? That was Penn State's press conference with Oregon's band playing the Oregon fight song in the background. Win the game, James. Win the game. But again, who are you, SMU and Boise State? Is there anybody who believes? Is there anyone on this show that believes that Penn State is one of the 12 best teams in the country? Because I'm not sold that they are.
But at least they've got a better resume than SMU or Indiana, or I mean, at least they've played people. Like, at least they've played good teams.
Yeah, Penn State is the fourth ranked team. Sorry, man, they're not. And James Franklin doesn't win big games. And if James Franklin doesn't absolutely brutalize, probably the wrong word when you're talking about Penn State, but if James Franklin and his Penn State Nittany locker room nudists don't absolutely dominate SMU and Boise State, come on, man. That's the easiest path in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Now, Texas, Clemson, Texas, Arizona State. How about the Big 12 getting one and the ACC gets two? Is what happened Saturday night and Sunday morning, is this a clear indication that the ACC is better than the Big 12? Apparently. You're telling me Colorado and BYU don't have a much stronger case than SMU, who lost to BYU. Oh, but that was in Provo, 8:15 night game. No, it was. That was down there in Dallas County. You're telling me that BYU doesn't have a...
Come on, bro. Come on, man. This is what I mean. Strength of schedule doesn't matter, dude.
And what does Jack Wagon over here say to me when he walks in? He doesn't say, "Hey, Monty. Hey, did you have a good weekend, buddy? No. What does he say? What? Boy, how do you feel about Baylor and Dave Aranda keeping his job now with 2 in?
It's really unfair.
How about Mike Gundy taking a pay cut to stay at Oak State? And you wonder why? And you wonder why all of a sudden the Big 12's only got one team in, and all this year and all this hyperbole. And Oak State, James, if you're here, please do not wet yourself, please. I would say this repeatedly all year long, and you guys hated on me for it. You rode me about it. Here's where Dave Aranda getting a contract extension at Baylor. Here's where Mike Gundy keeping his job. Here's where all the average, mediocre football played in Lubbock this year. Here's where all of this comes back to roost.
Yep.
Because, and I think you guys know I have a lot of respect for BYU. BYU can't be the best team in year 2 in the Big 12. Sorry. That is an indictment.
I think Arizona State winning the conference is a worse indictment.
That is an indictment. And it is, I am talking to you, Stillwater, Waco, Fort Worth. I am talking to you, Lubbock, Texas. I am talking to you, the old heads in the Big 12. The K-States who don't have a quarterback to throw them to a win.
But Monty.
No but Monties.
Come on, dude.
Shedeur Sanders being the best quarterback in this league, Deion Sanders being the biggest brand in this league in year 2 is an indictment on all the old heads. The fact that Mike Gundy took a pay cut and they snipped his balls off. How is he going to recruit when he took a pay cut? How is he going to talk about, you want to know something that if you're in Stillwater, you want to know something that should absolutely terrify you? You want to know the guy that should be absolutely terrifying to you? It's this cat right here. Listen to this dude. The most compelling, the most inspiring coach. I think I could make the argument in all of college football right now. Listen to him talk about NIL.
For us, those kids want to be here. And it's sad that, it's unfortunate that those kids want to be Sun Devils, and some of them are going to have to face, they're going to have to face questions of, do I want to be a Sun Devil more than I want another $300,000? And I think these kids want to be here. And I think if this community wants a winner and wants to continue to have a winner, then they're going to have to step up and continue to step up, because they already have stepped up. But the only unfortunate thing is we keep winning. And it's funny how when you keep winning, it gets more expensive to win.
It's facts.
So that's Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State talking about, hey, these kids want to be Sun Devils. and they're going to choose between making $300,000 more or being an Arizona State Sun Devil. And then you say to yourself, well, did Kenny Dillingham take a pay cut? No, Mike Gundy did.
That's what I told the players. There's no negotiating now. Portal's over. All negotiations history. Now we're playing football.
You can enjoy
just coaching and playing football.
Oh, okay. So I'm not allowed to talk to you about money, Coach? Well, what am I doing in your – how did I get here then, Coach?
What was it about him, and just what did you like about what you saw from McGann and stuff?
Do you want me to go back into coach talk, or do you want me to tell you the truth?
The truth.
The truth?
Yes.
He was very inexpensive. The number of players that we go after that were ready to play at this level, we can't afford.
And that guy took a pay cut to keep his job. So you don't want to talk about NIL. Negotiations are over. And yet you have Kenny Dillingham in Tempe talking about how he's fighting for his players, talking about how there's no pity for the kitty, talking about how, my God, they're going to have to choose between being a Sun Devil and $300,000. And here's Mike Gundy, who is winless in the Big 12 this year. Well, Kenny Dillingham won the Big 12 championship. Here's Mike Gundy taking a pay cut, saying, I don't want to talk to you about NIL. Hey, these guys are only on our team because we could afford them. They were cheap. Not winning a game. And you want to keep him, so you offer him a pay cut, and you think that he's going to recruit and that he's going to do well in the portal, and somehow next year you're going to bounce back. Yeah, I got bad news for you, dude. Where's the Zach hire already? It's not coming because Mike Gundy's a lame duck coach. What I think is the most important program in the Big 12, Oklahoma State. I think it's the most important program in the Big 12. It's got history. It's got big name Hall of Famers in the NFL. Just gave their coach a very public pay cut. They said, take a pay cut or take your job. Which one's it going to be? He takes a pay cut. Well, Kenny Dillingham's talking about kids having to make very difficult decisions about taking $300,000 or being a Sun Devil because he's got no pity for the kitty.
Yeah. And what's the obvious difference? Kids want to be Sun Devils and they don't want to be Oklahoma State Cowboys right now.
And the obvious difference is they want to play for Kenny Dillingham, and I don't think anybody wants to play for a coach who's a lame duck.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Gundys and the Arandas and the Spike Dykes' kid and the high school coach who's got a job in Lubbock and the lame duck got my nuts clipped in Stillwater, and you wonder why you only have one team in.
Don't wonder anymore.
Don't wonder anymore. Because if you'd have fired Dave Aranda, if you'd have done what you should have did and you fired Mike Gundy, if you'd done what you should have did and hired a real experienced winner in Lubbock, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And it's really disappointing that this league wants to cry foul instead of do what has to be done to win games. You are a victim not of the College Football Playoff Committee, but of yourself. It's why when we talk about how much you all every day hate the SEC and Alabama sucks, and they don't suck. They're probably better than your program is. And you're tired of that. And you're worn out on that. And you're tired of the SEC bias that we talk about on this show that's real and it exists. But this is why there's an SEC bias, because I never have to wonder if Kirby Smart went 0-9, there wouldn't be a conversation. And again, Lincoln Riley, or they're talking about firing Ryan Day, man.
Yeah.
You think Ohio State? Do you really think if Ohio State goes winless in the college football playoff that Ryan Day is going to keep his job? You really think that if they lose to the only 10 I see, and I think there's a real chance they do because that Tennessee defense is a 10. Good luck. If they lose to Tennessee, does Ryan Day keep his job? No, he does not. That's my prediction. I know we have a ton of Buckeyes who watch this show.
Yeah, I think it goes further than that, frankly. I think if you don't get to the national championship game, he's out. I think they're tired of losing to Michigan. I think their particular path obviously runs them into Oregon again. So if you lose the same team twice in 1 year, that's not a great look. Like, I just think there's only one expectation, for the Buckeyes, and that's a national championship.
I'm amazed by I want the Big 12 to succeed because I think it's better for college football. You can't have Deion Sanders in Colorado contend as one of the best teams in the conference in year 2. And really year 1 in the league, his second year in the conference, or in the program rather. You can't do that. But yet we just did that. Right? We just did that. And I think it speaks, this is what I've always said about the Big Ten. You can't have Oregon win the Big Ten championship in year 1.
Well,
you can't do it. And I would also point out how, oh, God, Marty, man, the Pac-12 was terrible. Turns out it wasn't.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't.
Because it's garbage.
Anyway, I digress. I don't know that we should probably take comments today. We should probably turn commenting off.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Big 12 fan, you should be pissed.
Let's see how this goes. As usual, the comment section presented by our good friends at Prize Picks. I don't know how I do it. Well, I do. I'm brilliant. I had a dominant weekend in the NBA. I did terrible in the NFL. Can we just not talk about the Bears today? And whatever that humiliation in Sam Frog's disco was, because
why don't we talk about the Chiefs instead? What do you think? What do you think? More help, more doinking.
Here comes the Chiefs homer coming out. Here's the Chiefs homer. Go ahead, Jake. Talk about how great the Chiefs are.
You're a homer is the first part.
I know, Coach. I know. I'm a terrible guy. I'm a homer. Dude was jumping, false starting all game. Like, I know.
But I'm being serious, and I ask you, because I'm looking at my Prize Picks totals here, and I have to tell you that having $7,841,000 in my Prize Picks account would be impossible. I'd have cashed that out already. But you look at the fact that I'm over $800 again after losing 7 of 8. I don't know how I do it.
I win. Google me.
And Labrum James the other night coming through.
The Bricklayer.
The
Flag Bear.
Was amazing. And the very idea that Steph Curry was 6 3-pointers, more or less, and I took less and he gave me 4 or gave me 5. That's my dude right there. Right? Like that is the magic of being a pimp on Prize Picks.
Right.
And the fact that my guy, Julius Randle, was at 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and I took more. And he gave me 29. It just makes my heart flutter. It makes my heart flutter because I know as much as you know that I know that you know that we know that I'm unbelievable. And then you go to, you knew that LeCap, LaDad was going to miss the Blazer game last night, which automatically meant the Lakers were going to win the game. And my guy, what did I tell you the other day about Anthony Davis?
Gotta take AD, man. First team all street clothes.
But shut your mouth. Points, rebounds, and
street clothes Davis.
Points. Stop it. Points, rebounds, and assists is what I told you about Anthony Davis.
Right.
Anthony Davis last night was 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Well, he gave me a 50-piece nugget, Monty.
Which is a huge number. 30 points, 11 rebounds, and a dime.
Okay.
42.
The rack attack.
You got to get the sweep.
Right.
That hurt my titty. But my point is,
Okay.
Stay hard.
My point is 3 for 3.
Nice job,
$110
dude.
on
Good
a
job.
heater. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. Monday Night Football tonight. What do you like on Prize Picks on Monday Night Football tonight? Because I think you're looking at, I think arguably one of the great seasons in the history of Prize Picks with old Marty here.
Hey, Marty.
And it is Cowboys hosting the Bungles. And my question is, Patrick Mahomes is already half a passing yard. They already have the Patrick Mahomes promo up. Patrick Mahomes,
you're
half
not
a
Chiefs
passing
guy,
yard.
though. You're not a Chiefs guy, so you shouldn't
Shut
be
up.
taking that.
Shut up. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
I love Jamar Chase, 81.5 receiving yards more tonight. I am a huge fan of Brandon Aubrey, the Dallas kicker, making 2 field goals because they're not going to score a lot of points. And then I think you have to go Cooper Rush, 1 passing touchdown more. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Yeah.
There are your Monday Night Football picks. Easy peasy. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly. It's as easy as it gets at Prize Picks. Download the app. Make sure you use the promo code Monty. First one in this morning, the real Pete Forte, who's been a member of the show for 13 months. I like it. I absolutely like it.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Brian Harsin to be Cal's new offensive coordinator.
I look forward to him finding a new job in 4 years.
Nobody cares. Lopes fan Gabe, a member of the show for 23 months. Who's going to be the first one to put in a 24-month membership, a 2-year comment that you've been a member of the Monty Show for 2 years? Happy day of the Sun Devil to all who celebrate. Good day to be a Sun Devil fan. Harry Austin, the great San Antonian, for $10. Still here with the SEC bias. If they put Bama in over SMU, then it would have killed the conference championship games. It's very interesting because, again, I think this is a really good point. SMU loses in a really garbo football game.
Yeah.
Clemson,
But
SMU.
hey, Ward said it was a 1-possession game, man.
It was terrible football. Right? I mean, terrible football.
Yeah.
The hit on the Georgia quarterback. Anyway, the ACC championship game, was it entertaining? Yes. Was that an incredible kick to win it? God guided. How many times can Dabo Swinney say God in a post-game interview?
In God's name, image, and likeness.
And then Kate Klubnik comes on and does an interview, and God. Son, God didn't make that kick. The kicker
We really did.
The kicker did.
Right.
The kicker kicked that ball. That was an incredible kick. Was it a good football game? No. Was it fun to watch? Sure it was. Does SMU belong in the college football playoff? They don't. If they put Bama in over SMU, it would have killed the conference championship games. No, I don't think it would have. If they'd have put Bama in over Clemson, okay, we could talk about that. But again, I'm just here to tell you, you don't want to play in a conference championship game. Did Ohio State get penalized for not playing in the Big Ten championship game? No, they didn't. Alabama losing to Oklahoma would sure have loved to have had a conference championship game. I don't think it would have. Which the TV networks don't want to lose rule number 1, follow the money. I agree. You've got to find a way to make sure that there's real incentive to play in a conference championship game.
Right.
I think that's a really interesting conversation, Harry. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I just disagree with you. Zachary Thornton for $5. The strength of schedule is most glaring at Boise State. What makes it even worse with the bye? I have no clue how you gave Boise State a bye.
Yeah.
No idea how that even happens. Don't know. Tom Dean for $2. Where would the old Pac-12 rank as a conference now? Pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Because if the conferences don't melt down, I don't think Kalen DeBoer would have left the Pac-12. I don't. I think he would have stayed. And I think if Kalen DeBoer is at UW, this is a different conversation.
Agreed.
Different conversation, which means what? Jed Fish should still be at Arizona. They'd be a better team.
And Washington would be a better team in the Big Ten.
There you go. Matt Ritson. How about ACC James Phillips meltdown better get 2 in the playoffs? Well, they got 2 in the playoff. Right? The ACC is not a good football conference. And it doesn't matter. They got 2 in. Big 12 got 1. I think the Big 12 is doing real damage to itself.
Yeah.
And I hope at some point that people come around to that. The Big 12's biggest enemy is the Big 12. I hope people come around to that. Oak State James, a member of the program for 18 months. Gundy has a plan. Nobody gives a flying fart knocker about his plan. Stop with this nonsense, James. His plan got you to 0-9, and now he's taking a pay cut.
Because it's all part of the plan.
Do you think the best JUCO players are going to Oak State? I mean, be honest. You really think the best JUCO players are going to Oak State? When he says he doesn't want to talk about your NIL money, when he says that he takes players because they're cheap, and Ollie Gordon's going to the NFL, which is a huge mistake in my opinion. Why are you going to Oklahoma State? What's the value proposition? Because the best JUCO players are getting calls from everybody. So explain to me, why would you go to Oak State? If you're a JUCO quarterback right now, you're the best JUCO quarterback in the country, why would you go to Oak State?
I don't know either.
Why would you go? And portal players. So let me get this right. You're saying a guy who sits up here and says, I don't want to talk about NIL. I don't want to talk about your money. You think you think they're going to Oak State? Oh, money. You think they're going to Oak State? Let me compare and contrast. Arguably the Mike Gundy, he of no balls, Mike Gundy. Let me just ask, and you tell me, are you going to play for Mike Gundy?
Player retention's based on money. I'll give you an example. If you're playing on our team and we go 3-9, and right now you're making $12,000, and we say, hey, if you come back, we'll pay you $250. What are you going to do? Player retention is probably 90% built on money now, not other things. It's changed.
Okay, so is he enthusiastically talking about money?
No.
This is the same guy who said negotiations are over. So then let me ask you, and I know I'm just little old Monty, and James knows Oak State football better than anybody's mom knows sex, but let me ask you. Let me ask you, are you playing for that guy? Are you, when you're a JUCO guy or a portal guy, do you want to play for Mr. Oh, it's all based on money and negotiations are over? Or do you want to play for this guy?
We get 25 high school players. How many is going to play that freshman year at the most? Let's say 4 or 5, right? And so now you got 20 guys redshirted. So when you go through that spring with that 20 guys redshirted, how many are you going to retain after that spring? Or how many are going to jump in the portal on you? Let's just do it. If any one of you want to go statistically and try to calculate this, I already done it. So it's going to be how many? Half. Okay, why don't I just focus on 10? Guys that can see, when we grab a freshman, we expect that guy to play.
So, and James, I don't know anything about Oak State. So let me get this right. You have a coach in Mike Gundy who has a player on Twitter this week talking about how Mike Gundy walked into the weight room and dropped a racial slur on him or Deion Sanders. I don't know. You tell me. Or maybe do you want to play for somebody who actually gives a rat's ass about his players? Like, I don't know. How about Matt Rule?
Yeah, the roster limits are a real factor. I mean, it's just, I can't imagine what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And if you're like a coach who's really cares about people, you're going to have to tell guys at the end of the season, like, hey, there's no spot for you here next year. So the guys can go and find somewhere else to go. And like, you have some players probably who are like, I'm not touching the ball enough, or I'm unhappy. And they're like, I'm going to go in the portal. And you think about the effect that's about to happen. The portal's already flooded. So we have 150, and we need to go to 105. That's 45 guys. Now, I know some seniors, but we'll add some guys. Just think about 20 to 30 guys from every school having to go into the portal, and the effect it's going to have on FCS, and then on Division II, and then on NAIA and Division III. It's going to be, so to your point, when Marquise and Jamari say, hey, we want to come back, that's 2 more people now that can't be here next year. And so it's going to be really, not just unique. I sometimes say unique. It's going to be a challenge.
That guy cares about his players.
Yeah.
And he's got balls, at least the last time I checked. And if you really want to get down the brass tacks, let's stay in the conference. Do you want to play for good old, hey, who hasn't gotten DUIs 1,000 times in their life? Or do you want to play for this guy?
Same thing we said earlier in the week. Twist the knife. We have yet to finish the motherfucking game. We've yet to do that. All year. We've done the same. Finish the motherfucking game with a vengeance. If we think we are who I think we are, a team that can compete for championships, we come out in the second half and we twist the knife. No pity for the motherfucking kitty.
So he just said we play for championships. Did they win a championship? I think they did. Mike Gundy put his balls in a jar. Kenny Dillingham put a trophy in the case. Who are you going to go play for? Pull your head out of the sand. And this is the very comment that has one team in the Big 12. You have no faith, no good faith basis to believe that you made a good decision at Oak State this weekend. Because you did. I'm telling you, you didn't. And I don't have a dog in the hunt. I don't give a rat's ass most days about what's going on at Oklahoma State football. Other than to tell you, you're not going to win. Not with Mike Gundy. And, man, maybe we'll get Zach. Well, good luck getting Zach. And when Zach comes in and you still don't win, then what? You didn't help. Oak State roster will be different next year.
Seemingly it's different every year.
Calford gifts 20 Monty Show memberships.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you.
Stop craving mediocrity. Stop craving mediocrity. At what point does an Oak State fan come on this show and say we need the best coach in college football and he needs to go hire the best offensive and defensive coordinator and so forth and so on? At what point do we get a Baylor fan or a TCU fan or a Notre Dame fan? At what point are we going to get somewhere in college sports, in sports in general? The Mets just gave Juan Soto the biggest contract in the history of professional sports. That just happened to the New York Mets. If you're a Cubs fan, such as and like myself, and you are thinking, you know what the Juan Soto contract as a Cub fan made me think?
Anita Dick and Ming.
That's what it made me think. We're never going to compete financially. If you're not upset, if you're a Mets fan today, you're elated. If you're everybody else, you're pissed off.
Right.
If you're an Oak State fan and Kenny Dillingham is talking about no pity for the kitty and then goes out and wins a Big 12 championship and you're not upset about that, it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, that's tough.
It hurts. The best OC and DC combo are at Notre Dame. Yeah, and one of the best DCs in the country is our head coach, and we don't win. Georgia's hurt QB is offset by Team SRT.
That's right. That's correct. Yes.
But it's funny, Mike Smith. Mountain Mama. They're all driving SRTs at Georgia. Why is that? Oh, that's right, because they've won. They've won.
A lot.
Anybody talking about firing Kirby Smart today?
Nope.
Oh, because he won. That's right. Damn. Anybody talking about firing Sark today? No. Does he win big games? Probably not. But why are they not talking about firing Sark? Because he's won. Why did they clip Mike Gundy's nuts? Because he lost. He's only 9, and he doesn't win. Oh, but Monty, look at the record. He's one of the biggest winning coaches in the regular season. But the Brandon Whedon years, nobody remembers that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Geoff, how are you, my friend? Hey, you want to talk about somebody who's apathetic in baseball? Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Final. They don't even like the city they play in. Mouse in the house. They want to leave. Call us LA Angels. Good to see you, Geoff. On a roll today, apparently. Christopher Shannon. Where do we find $850 million for a baseball player? No one goes to games. Apparently they do.
Yeah.
Because the Mets just dropped 700. Is this not? Now, monopoly money these days has a different meaning after the United Healthcare thing that we'll talk about. He's the highest paid player ever. Juan Soto, $756 million. All of it guaranteed and not deferred. You can't tell me they can afford pitching to compete, but it doesn't matter. Juan Soto just got the biggest contract in the history of professional athletics.
Yeah.
And they gave him an out after 5 years. And they gave him an escalator. Okay.
Cool, man.
Good luck. Right? Like
enjoy that regular season.
It's crazy money to me. It's crazy money to me. Talk about Kirby ripping Sankey while Sankey sat there with a sad face, which was amazing. Why? I need to understand the scheduling thing. All the college football playoff does is Kirby Smart, for those of you who didn't hear it, Kirby Smart said, F you, SEC, for giving us such a difficult schedule. Why would you want Georgia to play a difficult schedule? Well, because Carson Beck's kind of a fraud. I think we all found that out this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That shot homeboy took at the goal line.
Dude. Bro, that's video game material.
How is that, dude? My wife was like, oh my God, his knee.
Bro, his head.
Not the fact that his helmet popped off. My wife's like, his knee, bro. That was one of the biggest hits I've ever seen. And it was not targeting.
No.
Just so we're clear.
No, it was not.
But why are you running Georgia? Run Ole Miss through a tough schedule. Mississippi State, run Florida, run Georgia, Bama. The only 10 I see should not be playing difficult schedules. Right? Like, do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that strength of schedule ever becomes significant?
I mean, I think it's a situation where, you have the college football playoff committee, sending clear messages through how they rank and seed teams that strength of schedule just doesn't matter. So do I think it will become significant? I mean, I would hope so. But the problem is that I genuinely believe we're going to move to an on the field product, meaning we're going to move to that NFL minor league system where on the field results are going to determine it. Now, the problem is, I don't know if we're going to have 4 or 5 more years of this where we're, sitting here kind of having to decide, well, hey, how's Boise State ranked ahead here, SMU there, any of these examples we've gone over today. So, does strength of schedule become more significant? I mean, I would hope so, but I have to say, looking at this college football playoff that we have here, the whole narrative around like the SEC and ESPN and the SEC bias, like I'm not sure that we can roll that out anymore because Bama didn't get the benefit of the doubt. Bama's out. Bama's not in. So all the people saying, oh, well, the SEC's got a, get out of jail free card. They're going to have, 4 in the playoff. And it's just that simple. Like Well, it didn't quite work out that way. It didn't quite work out that the SEC was just rolling in it. And so, I mean, I would think strength of schedule at some point will pick up, but what we really need is we need the NFL minor league model because we need Boise State to play Georgia. We need the huge underdog to put their money where their mouth is.
Does college football and the controlling interest in college football want Boise State to play Georgia? I don't think they do. I honestly, is Boise State Georgia a matchup where you're like, well, goddamn, Marty, I got to watch that game? No, it's not. And you look at these right here, and I ask you, when we look at this graphic, how many marquee matchups are there? I don't think a lot. Is Clemson, Texas a marquee matchup? Not currently. You think it is?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that on the East Coast, Clemson gets a lot more credit than they do on the West Coast, and I think, everybody loves them some Dabo and his khakis in the playoff, and so I think you'll see that game will do really well.
Is Tennessee Ohio State a marquee matchup? Yes, it is. There is no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
SMU Penn State? Yeah,
No.
I don't care. Indiana Notre Dame? It's Notre Dame, so I'm excited for it. It's not a marquee matchup. I wish I could sit here and tell you it is. I wish I could sit here and tell you, my God, the blood is flowing to the lower extremities. I would expect Notre Dame. I would expect that to be a one-score game. But is it a marquee matchup? Yeah, I don't think it is.
Right.
Is Georgia Indiana a marquee matchup?
No.
Is Georgia Notre Dame a marquee matchup? On paper. Is Boise State SMU a marquee matchup?
No.
Can you imagine if SMU beats Penn State in Paternoville?
Happy Ending Valley.
That would be amazing. I'm trying to be Penn State fan feels like I'm oppressive, but nobody made Sandusky pay a price. I just hate Penn State.
Yeah.
Tennessee or Ohio State versus Oregon. Huge game.
Yeah.
Texas versus Arizona State.
Great game.
Arizona State versus Oregon.
Great game.
Boise State versus Georgia.
Not a great game.
Penn State versus Indiana. Not a great game.
Yeah.
I think that this college football playoff missed the mark.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is not a great college football playoff right here. This is not some awesome bracket.
What do you guys? I mean, do you guys feel like that? Did it work? That's a different conversation than, it worked. The 13th team is always going to be pissed.
Right.
Alabama, the harsh reality is Alabama can't lose to a pretty mid Oklahoma team. Right. I mean, that's the reality of it.
No, yeah. And again, I just think that winning cures all, man. You win. You don't have to listen to Oregon's band playing during your press conference or wonder why you didn't get in or whatever. Like, you just don't. And I just think that ultimately this playoff system is going to lead to, schools scheduling a little differently. And, then you're going to have to decide, all right, week ass schedule after week ass schedule, who are we going to put in?
Yep.
Because that's what we're heading to.
Yep. Eric Wasikowski, good morning, sir. Big Ten was better conference than the SEC. Fanboys can't accept it.
First of all, you should learn how to spell accept correctly.
I would agree with that.
First of all.
Second of all, do you guys really think that the Big Ten is better than the SEC? Based on what?
I mean, I don't know how you say the Big Ten's better than the SEC, man.
Okay, so I'm happy to play the game. Let's look at the SEC first. How many quality teams? You guys tell me, quality team or not? Texas. Yes. Georgia, yes. Tennessee, yes. Bama, yes. South Carolina, yes. Texas A&M?
Yeah, I would say they're quality. Yeah, they were better this year for sure.
LSU. Ole Miss, yes. Missouri, no. Florida, Arkansas, Vandy. Okay, down. So let's go 7 quality teams.
Okay.
How about the Big Ten? The Big Ten. Oregon.
Yeah.
Yes. Indiana. This is a big talking point. Is Indiana a good football team? Yes. Okay, I'll give you Indiana. Penn State? No. You're not getting Penn State. That team lost the only game it had to win.
Uh-huh.
I don't think the Oregon game was as close. I don't think the Big Ten championship was as close as it looked. I don't believe that Penn State's a quality football team. Would Penn State be in the top half of the SEC?
Probably not.
Okay, let's give you Penn State. Shits and giggles, right? That's 3. Ohio State? Okay, let's give you Ohio State because you need the help. 4. Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Rutgers, Washington, USC. Do I have to keep going? I'm helping you and I'm giving you 4. Now, in the comments section, I'm sure you guys will argue with me. Am I wrong? 4. Okay. Look, Alpha Buckeye, Texas A&M is Texas A&M versus Penn State. Let's see who Texas A&M played. You're exactly right. Let's go like for like, okay? Because I think Texas A&M is a pretty middle tier team. I think they're fringe.
Again, playing in the SEC.
Who are their losses to? Notre Dame, the mighty, unbelievable Notre Dame. Not a good football team. Not a good offense. Excellent defense. They lost to South Carolina, Auburn, and Texas. They have one bad loss. Auburn. That was a bad loss. Right? They beat LSU. They beat Missouri. They beat Florida.
Right.
The Auburn loss is the bad loss. Losing to Texas 17-7 is not a bad loss. Okay, Marty. Let's talk about the I'm not going to say it. Let's talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions, the great Sandusky's. Is Ohio State a good loss? Well, that was the only game that mattered in the regular season. But you lost the only game that mattered, and you still played for a conference championship. Okay, and then you got, I think, beaten pretty soundly by Oregon. I think that game was not nearly as close as the score. Okay, but big wins. Let's talk about big wins. West Virginia fired Neil Brown. Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. Okay, so now we're supposed to sit here and I'm supposed to believe that Penn State's better than Texas A&M. What's the quality win on Penn State's schedule? Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Had 2 opportunities.
I'm waiting for you guys. No, all those quads, stack them up. Oh my God. The quality wins on Penn State's schedule.
Bro.
There isn't one.
There's not a way to say the Big Ten's better.
There's not a single quality win on Penn State's schedule. And I've been telling you this all year. The Big Ten is light. If we help you, you get 4 teams. Would anybody here be surprised if Penn State goes out in the first round?
No. Nope.
To SMU, who I agree doesn't have a quality win either. But would anybody be surprised? I wouldn't, because James Franklin doesn't win big games. So we can sit here and you can say that Penn State isn't a quality team, but Texas A&M is. I can go up and down the list on Texas A&M. Who's the quality win for Penn State? Who is it? No, the argument that a lot of Penn State fans will tell you, and I think we saw this on game day, and I want to say it was Pat McAfee. I can't remember who said, well, they don't have that glaring loss. Well, because they don't play anybody.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem, right? Like that's precisely what we're talking about. Oh, they don't have the glaring loss, but they don't have the glaring win. And this was my point about
who have you beaten?
This was kind of my point about the whole conference championship game situation. There's no question, based on the committee's behavior, that playing the conference championship game maybe isn't as worth it as it should be. But my point with that was, and it still is, hey, we should be rewarding wins over quality teams, not just like wins in general. So like if you're playing your conference championship game and it's the and Oregon playing for the Big Ten championship, let's say, the loser of that game should be dropped pretty heavily depending on who they played earlier in the year. Like if it had been Ohio State and Oregon for the conference championship and Ohio State lost to them again, I'm bouncing them. You're out. You lost to the same team twice.
And Penn State, let's be very clear. Penn State, I think, just man for man, that defensive front, Drew Aller's playing better, not great football. They should win that game by 17 points.
Yeah.
Penn State, and this isn't anti-SMU, or SMU is not half as talented as Penn State.
Yeah,
is.
we're getting to the part of the season where the Cinderella story comes to an end.
Your tryhards can't win games,
Yeah.
or usually don't win games this time of year.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Eric, whoa. A bad loss sticks to you like the smell of, I wouldn't know because Penn State doesn't play anybody. Wasikowski, been preoccupied with watching the Lions kick ass this year, Marty. Who cares? We're not talking about the NFL.
Yeah.
What does the NFL
Again, you want to come in and talk junk and then not be accountable. So this is why we don't read your stuff too much.
Phenomenal Hebrew. I'm not impressed with those mid-SEC teams like Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and LSU. I think LSU is not a good football team.
I don't think anyone's impressed with those teams. I think what you have to understand is we're having a conversation about, hey, who did they play with their mediocre record?
I'm asking you guys straight away, how much Ole Miss football have you watched? I like Lane Kiffin as a personality. I don't have any affection for Ole Miss football. It's
Right.
not like I'm telling you, that's one of the best defenses in the country. And Jackson Dart's offensive numbers are wild. Now, is it system? Sure, but I don't give a shit, right? Like, it's,
He's still
excuse my
making the
French.
throws.
He's the numbers, the output is still there. I don't care if it's a system. I'm not talking about, is he going to make it in the NFL? They're one of the two best teams in the Big Ten. I think they're better than Ohio State. I think they're better. Penn State.
Ole Miss, you think is better than Ohio State?
Yes, I'm telling you that Penn State's not a championship caliber football team. I continue to say you can't be Indiana and lose the only games that matter all year, and everybody say, but no buts.
Yeah.
So when we talk about Ole Miss, I just think most of you have not probably seen a single snap of their defense, because you wouldn't be saying, I'm not impressed. If you watch Ole Miss's defense and you're like, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, you understand they beat Georgia, right?
If you watch their offense, if you watch Jackson Dart on a garden variety throw, the gap, furthermore, I think this is an excellent point. Josh Pate on CBS the other day was talking about the get off of Ole Miss wide receivers. Do you understand how elite they are at getting off the grind at the line of school, like getting off the press at the line? Do you understand now that teams simply do not press Ole Miss wide receivers because the minute they beat you, the ball is on them. And they're running, they already have, on average, they have a 2.5 yard gap from receiver to corner when they catch the football. Do you know how fast the ball's got to get there for them to have that kind of gap? It means the corner hasn't recovered yet. How many plays have we seen Ole Miss wide receivers running away repeatedly? So if you're not impressed by Ole Miss, Texas A&M, I agree, rode a roller coaster this year, and I just think Brian Kelly's a pretty mediocre coach.
A&M, first year with Mike, okay, there's some built-in excuses there.
Yes.
The LSU thing, I maintain, LSU, they're one of those teams. Is it good LSU or mediocre LSU? They're just that team.
Good question.
Some years they're elite and it's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and they've recruited their ass off and they paid kids and everything's awesome. And then other years it's like this year where they're mediocre and you can't rely on them. This is one of those years.
And if you really want to get deep on a team that shouldn't be probably as lofty as they are, I would point to Texas. What is Texas's massive big win this year? Colorado State, Michigan, UTSA, UL Monroe, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia? Oh, wait, they got crushed by Georgia.
I know based on watching the pundits at ESPN, maybe they don't believe this off the air, but on the air, the pundits and Ward and, the talking heads give Texas a lot of credit for the Michigan win early in the year because Michigan was ranked. And
that's a bad football team.
Yeah, but again, we can't discount that at that time. That was a good win at that time.
Yeah, they were 10th in the country.
So,
Texas
I agree,
is
they're a bad team.
Texas is one of those teams that does not have a quality win. So, Xavier Wolf, good morning to you, sir. We finna find out. Bet against SMU and be sad with the results.
Yeah,
you're
so
probably
then
not wrong.
This is the other part of the conversation.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So now SMU and Boise State are going to get real opportunities here. You've now made it to the dance, and now it's time to show who you really are. And again, I like with Boise State, I want to see what that team does against legit competition. I want to understand. Hey, is 7-8 yards a carry versus the Mountain West? Is that 4 yards a carry against the SEC or 3 yards or what does that look like? And by the way, does your quarterback have the cojones to throw the ball on an SEC secondary or a Big Ten secondary?
We'll find out. Noel Ramirez for $5. They should have only given Oregon and Georgia a bye and ping pong balls to determine who plays who. Let Lady Luck decide. Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, flip a coin,
I don't disagree. Fuzzy balls for $5. So I'm assuming you're a tennis guy. Texas and Penn State lost all their games to ranked teams this year. Wouldn't be surprised if either team loses. I will just continue to point out. But Texas is way more talented than Clemson.
And jog my memory here. Texas has lost to Georgia twice this year.
Yes.
Who was their other loss? That didn't they have one more loss here?
No, Georgia.
That was it,
twice.
right? So let me get this right. So Texas has only lost to Georgia this year and beat everybody else in front of them.
And an incredible SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Where Texas should have been up 35-7 at one point.
Yeah, I'm kind of off the Quinn Ewers bandwagon, I got to tell you. And they committed penalties, and the missed throws wouldn't have mattered anyway because the penalties would have brought it back.
Starts.
But false starts,
holding by the wide receivers.
It's just undisciplined, and I love Sark, man, but your players were undisciplined in that game, and it cost you mightily. And I'm telling you, I'm starting to come around to, hey, you got to use Arch more. Like I know it's Quinn's team, but
you're in the postseason. You either ride one of the two. You ride one of the two, and I don't know what the. Texas is a flawed football team because they're not
a good football team, but flawed.
That defense, Jahdae Barron,
savage.
But you got to come through, man. You gotta come through. All right, a couple more. Let's see. UW fan Jim. South Carolina did beat Clemson by 3.
Yeah, I think South Carolina is one of those teams that was right on the bubble, and now we're sitting here talking about like, hey, what do we have to do?
Knowledge Quest. Ole Miss is nice on College Football 25.
Hey, man, you spending time on the tarmac in College Football 25, bro?
Bro, that's amazing. Comment of the day. Xavier Wolf, hello? SMU has a better chess master than Pennsylvania head coach. Well, Rhett Lashley's a good head coach. The thing that makes SMU only as good as they are is because they never quit. They do not give up. They play hard every snap.
Yeah.
That's what makes them as good as they are.
Yeah.
Because they're not talented. They're not. And that's not an indictment. I think that's just the reality of who they are. But that team never quits. So we'll see. Wasikowski, again, if Notre Dame can still be in it after losing to NIU, why are you defending Bama?
Man, you just
are you
comment.
new here?
I'm not. We don't need to humor.
Bro,
this.
What are you talking about?
We don't need to humor that.
Seriously, if the SEC has a down year, they're still the best conference.
Yeah.
What is it that makes anybody think that the SEC is not the best conference? There is no fact-based conversation you can have.
Emotions. That's it.
There is no fact-based conversation you can have.
Because I think what people do is they say, oh, well, man, how was it that, Bama's got 3 losses? How could they even be in the conversation? But I think this is what I'm saying. Ward can sit up there. Ward Manuel, chair of the College Football Playoff Committee, can sit up there and say strength of schedule and what happened in the past doesn't matter. That's BS. He is lying to your face, because the reality is, I don't care what you do, who you are, whatever. As human beings, whether we like it or not, we take into account who a program is over the last several years. Your reputation matters in the college football playoff.
Yes,
so
it does.
South Carolina's not getting in because they haven't done a damn thing in the college football playoff.
You need a system that does not rely on human beings.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the college football super league.
Yeah. The NFL minor league model. Decided on the field.
Did you win? Oh, you lost? Okay, you're out. Plain and simple. Because you don't...
No sob stories. No, oh, we're not talented
no
enough.
but Monties.
No well Monties about, the G5 can't recruit. Hey, you wanna go and try and compete? Cool. We're not gonna feel sorry for you when we beat your ass by 50 in the college football playoff.
DK, good morning, DK. Thank you for the $5. Most Texas fans are tired of Ewers. He's too inconsistent. He regressed since the injury earlier in the season. You know what the biggest problem here is? This is why you don't go to Arch Manning and not start him as a freshman.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants the backup. Who's the backup quarterback at Colorado? Yeah, I don't know either. When you have an elite quarterback, you play him. And again, not to keep telling you how right I am, I've said for how long it was a mistake for Arch Manning to stay at Texas.
Yeah.
Because now here we are in the college football playoff and people want Arch Manning to start. Huge debate this morning when Jerky Boy turned on the TV.
Jerky Boy.
When Jerky Boy. Hey, Jerky Boy.
Hey.
When Jake turned on the TV in the studio this morning, when our internet wasn't working, the internet came right back on. And what were they arguing about on ESPN? Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning? I don't even joke.
Yeah.
They're arguing about Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning. Anytime you're calling for the backup quarterback, you're not winning. That's what this comes down to. Quinn Ewers, I agree with DK. Most Texas fans are dumb with Quinn Ewers.
I was shocked on some of those throws. He just out threw the receiver. Like, I don't know.
And not close.
Yeah. I mean, the one was like 5 yards too far. Like, it wasn't
Can you imagine that offense with Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah.
Pulling the trigger and
that's
completing 74% of his passes? And what would Shedeur's completion percentage be behind that offensive line?
Yeah, 70% plus at least.
He's 70%
plus 75%
now.
Probably. I mean, honestly. I mean, with that wide receiver talent, with all due respect to Colorado. And by the way, I have to say, if there was such a thing as a good loss, that performance, I think, falls into the good loss category, which is why I think you see Texas is still in. Because nobody's going to sit there and watch the SEC championship game and say, yeah, oh man, SMU should be in over Texas, or,
Alabama should be in over Texas.
You're not doing that to Texas,
No.
So that's why I say, like, when you want to sit here and we get comments like Ole Miss is average, dude, Ole Miss beat Texas.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Stupid. I'll take South Carolina over Ole Miss. Great argument.
Yeah. See, like, that's a good conversation.
That's a really good conversation.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
fair
it's close.
conversation.
Randomness. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, their ass. So on what level? So, okay, let's play your dumb little game. So they lost in conference. And that one game means their ass. So then the Georgia win doesn't matter. Because Ole Miss beat Georgia. Does that mean that they're no longer ass? And again, you have no idea who Boise is because they haven't played anybody. Am I the only one that watched that game the other night? And I said to myself, man, because Barry Odom's, former UNLV head coach, Barry Odom went to Purdue, is going to Purdue over UNLV. You figure it out. But let me ask you, if UNLV's defensive line was blowing up the left side of Boise State's line, because where did Ginty have all his work done? Right side of the line.
Yep. Repeatedly.
So you tell me, Boise State plays Penn State. Does UNLV have a better defensive line than Boise or than Penn State does?
No.
So when you blow up the A gap on both sides, what happens to Ashton Ginty?
Gets to the second level.
And when you have safeties at at, because they have elite safeties at Penn State running downhill who are not going to do what UNLV did, which is try to tackle him with corners overrunning him. Do you really think that Boise State's going to be able to hang with that? And when you make a comment like this, all you tell me is you have not seen a single snap. All you did was go and look at Ole Miss's schedule and say, oh, they lost to Kentucky. They're ass, bro. That you're making my point for me that you have not seen a single snap of Ole Miss football.
Yeah.
Because you would never say that Boise State beats Ole Miss. Because you either haven't watched Boise State much or you haven't watched Ole Miss. Because that Ole Miss defense is top 5 in the country.
Yeah.
Not in the SEC, in the country.
And I think one of the biggest takeaways out of that UNLV game for Boise State was that, the missed tackles just ate UNLV alive.
Alive.
Yeah.
Mountain Mama, I don't think any of the current playoff teams had a loss to an FCS team like Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame, like with my heart, soul, rectum. Like I love Notre Dame. That offense is so horribly
Again,
flawed.
It's
so horribly flawed.
You guys can't use the same logic on Notre Dame that you use with everybody else. I don't know how many times we got to go over this. If they're a one-loss team, they're in.
Notre Dame sold their soul.
Yeah.
Gave up all of their influence. I think I've said this on the show before. Notre Dame agreed to give up all of their influence and all of their voice.
Yeah.
In exchange for, if we're one of the top 12 teams in the country, we're in the college football playoff.
Right.
By rankings, if we're one of the 12 highest ranked teams in the college football rankings, we're in the playoff. They have no say and no voice in the future or the structure of the college football playoff. When you lose one game, I don't care who you lose to. And that loss was week 2. You're in the college football playoff if you're Notre Dame.
Yep.
And I'll say again, what incentive does Notre Dame have to schedule tougher games?
They don't.
None. And it sucks. It sucks.
Because I agree on the field. They're a borderline college football playoff team. Borderline.
Yeah. Taterman, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. How about the SEC play 9 conference games like everyone else? Why would you?
Yeah, but they don't have to. That's the point.
Why would you? Right? SEC must be scared they won't measure up to everyone else. No. The SEC understands they control the game that's being played. Now, this year they played themselves, in my opinion, because you can't lose to Oklahoma.
Right.
Right? I would not schedule up. I would not schedule out of conference. I would not play 9 conference games. What advantage is there? In all seriousness, what advantage is there? I don't think there's any. I really don't. Knowledge Quest, Michigan's a playoff team with a quarterback. I can't even argue with that because the Big Ten's not good. If Michigan could rack 275 yards of offense game in and game out, every game,
you're probably in the playoff.
They're in the playoff.
Yeah.
But they couldn't.
Yeah.
They couldn't. It just roundabout. Hello. Michigan was only ranked because of the media bias.
But again,
they were ranked.
But yeah. See,
and they weren't ranked 24th. They were ranked 10th.
See, and that's a great point. I don't even disagree with you there. That's a phenomenal point. But isn't that all that matters, right? The media bias, like, isn't that all that matters?
That's the whole story at Notre Dame. You guys, do you understand that Notre Dame lost to and I'm going to look this up before I make a jerk off of myself. I don't think NIU is bowl eligible.
By the way, have you guys heard from NIU? Have you guys heard from NIU since that Notre Dame win?
They beat Notre Dame and lost back-to-back to Buffalo State, North Carolina State.
I'm sorry, Toledo, I thought you said Buffalo State.
Buffalo. But Toledo, Ball State, and Miami of Ohio.
What, Abilene was too good for you?
They finished 4-4 in the MAC and 7-5 on the season.
Come on, man.
But when was that loss to Notre Dame? Or when was that Notre Dame loss to NIU? Week 2.
So what's the narrative? Well, bad loss, but you ripped off 10 in a row or whatever.
Army.
Yeah, another great example.
Over the weekend on Twitter, Assface was making the argument, well, Army belongs in, dude.
Well, Monty.
Look here, man.
Somebody make the argument that Army belongs in. You can't. You cannot make the argument that Army belongs in. Come on. Feinbaum was seen popping multiple Midols. I believe he had cramps. That's exactly right.
Why we have Feinbaum.
Knowledge Quest, facts. Okay. JC, at the time, that was a good loss for Poverty U. Okay.
Okay. All right.
1939. Texas plays the toughest out-of-conference schedule and plays in the best conference at Michigan, at Ohio State, at Notre Dame.
All right.
I don't know. I don't think that's correct. Texas's schedule, with all due respect, Texas's schedule is not tough. At Michigan, okay, I agree. Big house, huge crowd, big TV. That game was not close.
Yeah.
They don't have. Are we excited about an Oklahoma win? 34-3. I'm not.
Well, but again, Oklahoma beat Bama. So if you're Texas, you're excited about that win.
Vandy beat Bama. Are you excited about the Vandy win?
If you're Texas, you are.
I think Texas is good, not great. I agree with you. They have good road wins. At Texas A&M, if we're going to apply the same standard to Texas and Notre Dame won at Texas A&M.
Texas is good enough to get to the college football playoff, but has to learn how to win the big game.
Is Sark good enough to win it? I don't know. Yes, Savior. Kevin Jennings is extremely composed. I agree. Play Arch. Absolutely. Ewers will be gone after the season. Arch has the team. I don't disagree with you. I don't. I think that Steve Sarkisian has handled that not well, in my opinion. Fuzzy balls. Cade Klubnik has 33 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 7 rush touchdowns this season. He's returning in 25. Okay. Do you want to play the game with Clemson? So Clemson needed help to get into the ACC championship. Clemson lost.
Syracuse provided.
Clemson lost to Georgia, lost to Louisville, and lost to South Carolina.
So where's all the, hey, 3-loss Clemson team shouldn't be in?
Cade Klubnik, who says God helps him throw the football. Well, then you need a better quarterback coach than God.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
You're only completing 63% of your passes. And you threw for 3,303 yards. In the loss, you didn't have a touchdown. You had an interception to South Carolina. In the loss at Louisville, you threw for 228 and a touchdown. And in the loss against Georgia, you threw for 142 yards and 1 interception, no touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, against Appy State, 378 and 5 touchdowns. Against Stanford, 255 and 4 touchdowns. Against SMU, 262 and 4 touchdowns. So the worst competition brought out your best performance. And you threw for 308 and 3 scores against Virginia. Here's my point, friends. Clemson had one of the easier schedules and lost 3 times. You got help.
Yeah.
You got help. And I'm okay that you got help.
Obviously brings back the conference championship question.
Yeah. Exactly right. Tom Dean for $2. Big 12 with most disappointing year. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt.
No question.
Utah, Oak State, KU. Hugely disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I think if heading into the year, I mean, the Arizona State situation is pretty self-explanatory, but Utah, Oak State, K-State certainly is a disappointment. Kansas was a disappointment without a doubt. I'm not going to say Tech was a disappointment because I don't think anyone believes in Joey. So, I'm not going to say you were disappointing,
Joseph.
But yeah, I mean, the Big 12 should have 4 or 5 teams that are contending for probably 2 spots in the playoff. But you had 2 teams contending for 1 this year.
Yeah, I think that when we look at the Big 12, Tom, I think there's certainly some disappointment there. I mean, Kyle Whittingham's back for 2025, which I think is a huge win for Utah.
And by the way, I think Utah's doing a great job. And I don't know if this should be mostly credit to Witt or like how that's all kind of mapped out inside the program, what the reality is, but they're doing a great job setting the program up for after he retires.
Isaac Wilson in the portal.
Yeah.
The portal opens today, by the way.
Negotiations are over, though. So
unless you're Mike Gundy, and then the portal's never open.
Right.
They hired Jason Beck. Kyle Whittingham's coming back. I mean, if you're Utah, that's a program, Oak State, James, that's in line for a bounce back.
Yeah.
You had a home run hire at offensive coordinator. You have your Hall of Fame coach coming back, who's actually, recently won championships. And you're going to get a huge influx of talent from the portal.
And I think the way in which Utah struggled versus Oklahoma State was so different. I mean, Oklahoma State struggled because they just weren't good. Like, they had their guys. They just weren't
Lack
good.
of talent.
Yeah. And Utah struggled because they didn't have talent, because everyone got hurt.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the portal, who are the shockers in the portal today. That I'm very interested. Ooh, E.J. Harris from Auburn's in the portal. That's interesting. That's very interesting. You're going to have a lot of guys in the portal.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of guys in the portal.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the portal and this whole NIL situation exposes head coaches who are not willing to change. And that's why, like, I'm fine if we take heat for hating on the Gundy thing. I think it's one of the worst decisions the program's ever made. And I felt and feel so strongly about that I tweeted about it over the weekend. And I'm not a big tweeter, Xer, if you will. I think that bringing him back like that, and there was some allegations that he had leaked. Gundy had leaked the negotiating process with the school and everything, and it just wasn't a great look publicly there for probably half a day on Saturday, and then it kind of got put to bed. So I don't know, man. I think that this new age in college football really exposes head coaches, and the Kenny Dillinghams, the Primes, the guys who have that younger energy. Maybe age is the number, like how old you are isn't as important as the energy that you have and the way you go about it. Like, I think I haven't heard enough from Kalen DeBoer, in my opinion, this year. I feel like, I see Nick Saban every freaking day, and I don't see Kalen DeBoer ever. I saw Dan Lanning yesterday. I see a lot of guys around, but those are the guys that are being successful, and like Dabo's a perfect example. He didn't have some great year, but what did he do? He found a way, and he deserves credit for that. You found a way in to the college football playoff. Yeah, you needed help. Yes, you did, but you're there. And I can't say the same thing about most of the coaches in the Big 12.
Ooh, LSU already has 7 guys in the portal.
Yeah.
Oh,
LSU's another good example. How bad is the culture there?
Devin Brown at Ohio State's probably the biggest name in the portal today, but I think you're gonna get life lessons. Did anybody notice also that Bronco Mendenhall? I think we mentioned that the other day. I can't believe Utah State pulled that guy. I mean, that is the pull of getting Bronco Mendenhall to be the head coach at Utah State when you're in that kind of trouble.
Great hire.
Should Bill Belichick take the job at North Carolina? Because over the weekend there were some rumblings that they were going to offer him.
I don't know, man. I agree with the Dan Orlovskis of the world that, this is someone you should hire for sure. This is someone you should hire. This is someone who would do a great job. This is someone who has a proven track record, obviously. My biggest concern, though, at the college level is this is not someone who's ever had to recruit or, he's not asking Bill Belichick to come in and be, modern day college coach. Just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. And
I would agree with that.
And that's why I say, like, hey, you want to hire this guy at the NFL level? Knock yourself out, dude. I don't care who you are. That would be a great hire for anybody. But not at the college level, man. That's just that opportunity.
That doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's not a good decision.
Mac Brown, at least he was old as dirt, but the guy's a recruiter for a living.
Yeah, he's got a resume.
Yeah, I just think that. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would not hire him. Sark said, "Play to win or go home." I agree.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. But that's just me. Jeremy Bolton, hello. Is Witt only coming back to Utah to play quarterback? I have a feeling the next 2 days they're going to land some dudes at quarter.
Yeah, you don't hire that kind of OC and not have a quarterback.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you're going to have a quarterback.
I like Gundonator generally, but he should be out. It's funny he won't have autonomy for his own coordinators. It's a huge mistake by Oak State. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Mendenhall's a great get for Utah State, unquestionably. Tanner Plummer, hello. In the release from Utah State, said that part of the reason Bronco is coming to Logan because his mom still lives in Utah and he wants to take care of her. Not surprising. That's a huge get for them. Huge get. Welcome to the nightmare. As a UCF fan, bringing back Scott Frost galvanized the fan base ever since his name was floated and then hired. Do you like that hire? Shouldn't UCF be calling Bill Belichick? In all seriousness.
Does Bill Belichick fit in, Floridian culture, though?
Here's philosophically, if you are looking for a head coach in college football, does Scott Frost strike confidence in your program, fan base, boosters, NIL? He's familiar, obviously, but UCF couldn't do better than Scott Frost?
Maybe they just liked him. I don't know.
I'm a big believer that you have to swing for the fences. It's what I said about Oak State. Call every big-time coach that you can get. Call Dion, call Urban, call, I don't care who it is. Call Lincoln Riley.
Right.
If your program's open and you're defaulting back to comfortable, that very rarely works out well. Very rarely. Jimmy Otson, Belichick is setting his son up to be a coach at UNC. Maybe. I've heard a lot of that. He's a good coach. Heard a lot of that. Stupid. I don't think Bill is going to need to recruit having won a lot in the NFL. Yeah, you still got to recruit. Kids, it's not about, it's about money. It's about situation. It's about, hey, how soon, the Dion clip about who's going to play.
And UNC is not some football powerhouse. I mean, obviously, you've put some guys in the draft here lately, but generally,
UNC's always good. They're not great.
Yeah.
That's what
That's a basketball school, man.
Bill to North Carolina, you would have to hire another person to do recruiting.
Yes.
I think you would. UW fan Jim, Pete Kwiatkowski is the best DC in the country. One of. And that D is for real. Sark and the offense are clearly overrated. I don't agree with that. I think their defense is elite. I think Steve Sarkisian is one of the best offensive minds in football.
Yeah.
I think Quinn Ewers was not that was not handled well. That was not handled well. Jimmy Otson, Belichick's girlfriend goes to UNC, right?
That's what they do.
I know what I like to do. Stupid. Devin Brown to Utah would be good for Devin. I think he's bringing his own quarterback with him from New Mexico. So, Calford gives 20 more Monty Show memberships.
Okay, Calford.
So I went shooting yesterday. A bunch of friends and people got together out in the great desert of Utah.
Yeah.
And I shot a shotgun. And my shoulder is sore today. Not like birdshot, but like a single slug. Do you know how much more difficult it is to shoot that round? Man, not good. Hey, much more difficult. Where's Oak State James? He came and went. Right? Like, which is fine. Caleb. The Todd Grantham hire seems pretty good after I did some research. Is good. I would agree with that. Okie Light. What about Gundy's DC hire? Is it as bad as it seems? I don't know yet. What is the transfer portal? Are you guys surprised Ollie Gordon's going to the NFL?
Yeah, I am. Look, I understand that it's all about getting that money, but dude, I don't know. Maybe he's just concerned about injuries and just wants to get there ASAP. But I don't know. His draft stock took a beating this year, and I am really surprised that he decided to declare.
I'm surprised by that. I am really surprised by that. I mean, Todd Grantham to Oak State, I'm not surprised by that.
Right.
Ollie Gordon going to the NFL, I was surprised by that. Jeremy Bolton, BYU needs to do whatever it takes to keep Jay Hill at BYU. I would agree with that. That's
open that checkbook up.
But again, this is why I was telling everybody. This is why Jay Hill was never taking the Utah State job. I don't think 1 year at BYU is what he was ever going to do, but that's me. I don't know though. Stupid. You sure it was the shotgun and not you trying to get 21 times in before Christmas, dude?
See what he did there.
Bro, I
that was a
surpassed
21 times reference.
I surpassed 21 times in Hawaii. So
21.
take it easy. Take it easy. Oh, I guess that's last month though, isn't it?
Can you do something for me?
Yeah. I guess I need to restart the clock.
Got to hit your quota again,
Cam Harrison, like the show, guys. Yeah, where are we at with likes today? God damn, we're way over 2,000. We only have 50. Well,
come on, man.
Hit the like
button.
Please hit the like button. I appreciate you mentioning that, Cam. I'm not surprised Ollie is going to the NFL. He may think another year in Stillwater would do more, but why wouldn't you get into the portal? That's the whole point of the portal. You can go be a stud somewhere else, right? Marty blew up No Nut November. Well, you know. Jeremy Bolton, 51, 81. Ollie Gordon's jockstrap took a beating this year. Oh, draft stock. Must adjust my hearing aids. Exactly. Delaric, who's been a member for 21 months.
Okay. Nice, bro.
Ollie wants to be a Cowboy. A bad draft stock helps. Yeah, there you go. I'll end up in Dallas. There you go. Didn't Cam Ward go to the NFL before he went to the NFL? He did. He came back. That's very true. He was going to go to the NFL, but then came back, got in the portal, and went to Miami. So, it is. We'll see. We'll see how it all
matriculates and progresses and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what Ollie Gordon will do.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I am a big believer that you have to have a stud quarterback. Running backs are not the premium that they used to be. Right?
Yeah.
They're not the premium.
You either got one or you don't.
Wait, did someone check on Oak State James? He probably losing his mind about Ollie leaving. No, he's not. Lamont Tucker, did y'all hear Jalen Milrose transferring? I have not heard that. Where did you? Let's pull up the old tweet machine.
Yeah, what Michigan message boards did you get this from?
I don't believe that Jalen Milrose transferring until I hear that from Jalen Milroe. Why would he leave? Why would he leave Alabama? The whole system is built for him. I mean, I don't know why. There's nothing that says Jalen Milrose transferring. Unless I am just completely inept at using X. I think that...
Yeah, I don't see anything about that, bro. So you're going to have to tell us where
you're going to have to...
Yeah.
I think Jalen Milroe wants to dominate his bowl game because I think there's a chance he goes to the NFL. And look at that. Talks between Bill Belichick and North Carolina ongoing, according to Pete the Mole.
Pete the Mole.
Sources told ESPN talks between UNC and Belichick have continued with some type of resolution either way expected this week. Yeah, if you don't have a coach in place now, you're screwed. Because you don't have another way to... This is it right now. This is it. This from an Alabama source. I'm sure it is.
Right.
I seriously doubt Jalen Milroe is transferring, but could be wrong. My sources trust me, bro. Milroe is leaving. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense that Jalen Milroe would transfer from Alabama to go to
Oh, and the Pac-12 was getting $600 million, so
No, but I'm seriously, think through it. If Jalen Milroe transfers, where does he go up to? Where does it get better for him? It doesn't. You don't leave Alabama as a starting quarterback and think that somehow that you're going to improve.
Yeah.
That's not happening. He needs to learn to become a better thrower of the football. And he's a dominant runner. So I don't know where you would I don't know where you would get that from or what it would make sense. But that's just me. Well, you guys are crazy. I hate to admit it, but Texas would be a step up from Bama right now. No, it would not. So you're going to transfer your Jalen Milroe, you're going to transfer to Texas, and you think you're starting over Arch Manning?
No.
You're not starting over Arch Manning. You're just not. So he's worried about his draft stock. It's talk about him possibly going to USC.
Okay, you're just...
This is all...
He's not going to USC, bro.
So let me get this straight. You're at Alabama. You're worried about your draft stock, so you're going to USC. What bowl game is USC in? Do you see the year that they just had? At least think it through. Hey, listen. Could I see him going to isn't Jalen Milroe? If you're Jalen, I love this stuff, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll get roasted for this when he transfers to USC. Jalen Milroe's from Katy, Texas. You think he's going to Los Angeles?
No, he's not.
I could see him going to Oregon's going to need a quarterback. But is Jalen Milroe even close to Dylan Gabriel?
No, you're not transferring unless you're going somewhere where you can win a national championship, where your situation can improve and there's a need. Much like Will Howard in Ohio State, right? Like that's why Will went to Ohio State, because there was an opening. He could fill that need.
This stuff always happens when like Alabama just missed the college football playoff.
Oh, Jalen's going to transfer. Okay. All
right. I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would be looking to get better wide receivers. When a true freshman's your best wide receiver and he's elite, that's a problem, in my opinion. That is a huge problem.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick.
Lack.
Does the Juan Soto contract ever pay out? Is it ever worth 250 or 756 million? Juan Soto overnight got the largest contract ever paid to a professional athlete. Fully guaranteed, and he's got an opt-out after 5 years and an escalator that could make it $55 million a year. Can the Mets win? Like, there's so many ifs, coulds, cans. Can the Mets build a pitching staff when they're paying him $50 million a year?
Yeah, I mean, this is as plain as day. This is a move to just try to flex on people, and I understand the Mets are the little brother in that town. You know, you're always trying to compete with the Yankees and trying to compete with what they do. But I have to say, I'm surprised by Juan Soto's decision. I'm really surprised that you chose to leave the Yankees and Aaron Judge and all the success to go to a team that just hasn't shown the ability to win recently. I mean, I grew up on the David Wright Mets, the Mets that were relevant in the picture all the time, good teams. And the Mets have just been sort of inconsistent lately. And obviously losing more than winning. And so can they build a pitching staff around that? No, probably not the pitching staff you'd want. Probably not a pitching staff that's four guys deep in the rotation, like four legitimate, difference-making starters in the rotation to start out. I mean, but again, this is the Dodger blueprint, except there's one key difference. The Dodgers have set a blueprint where it's like, hey, pay all this money, get the biggest names, all the talent, all the stars, but defer the hell out of that money. so then we can go and build the pitching staff with the money that we're deferring essentially. But they're not deferring any money here.
No.
So that's why I'm saying I don't believe that this is going to turn into some, multi-championship dynasty 7-8 year run here. This has, hey, we're going to pay 3 players a ton of money and be lucky to win, 85 games material. That's what this is. And that's where I say the Mets are doing what the Mets do, which is they're going to spend a ton of money, but they're going to do it the wrong way, and that's going to limit them. And I have to say, how disrespectful, is it by Juan Soto to leave the Yankees like that? I mean, you came to the Yankees, Yankee fan embraced you, you earned that respect, you performed, then you go out and you go to the Mets? Like, I would understand it if you went to the Dodgers or if you went to, a World Series contending team.
Yeah. You
went to the Mets, bro. Like, what are you doing, man? And hey, it's your money. Get paid. I'm with it. I'm cool. But I guess I took Juan Soto as somebody who, everybody wants to get paid, but Juan Soto seemed like the kind of guy that had that fire of like, hey, I really want to win as much as I can while also getting paid. So let's do 15 years and 750 or so and some change, but let's defer a good chunk of that. And, I'll get paid out in my 40s and 50s. Like, I just was surprised that you left the Yankees to go across the street, essentially. Like that to me doesn't make a lot of sense.
I would agree. I think it is. I think it's a mistake. If you haven't hit the like button yet, but if you're the New York Mets, to pay Juan Soto this money is a huge mistake, in my opinion. Not to defer it, I also think it's a mistake for Juan Soto to leave the Yankees for the Mets, because that seemingly always ends poorly with the Mets. And we'll see. I mean,
and don't forget, this is someone who's won a World Series. Juan Soto has one,
but
I guess
how many years ago now?
Yeah,
it didn't work in San Diego. It didn't work with the Yankees, meaning they didn't win.
Yeah,
he was not the problem for the Yankees. Very clearly, he was not the problem for the fathers of San Diego. Very clearly, but I mean, does this signal the end of Pete Alonso?
I mean,
it's a very interesting question.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess anytime an athlete, doesn't prioritize, going somewhere where there's some semblance of a winning culture. Because that's my problem with the Mets, dude. Like, stadium's cool. It's New York City. Awesome. But it's the Mets. They don't win enough to make it feel good. Like, I'm telling you, if he had gone to the Dodgers, the narrative would have been, hey, you're kind of selling out to go win a ring, but we get it because the Dodgers win. You understand it. But to go to that kind of organ, I know I keep saying it over and over, but it's just shocking, bro. Like, why the Mets, man? And it's not like the Yankee offer was like tiny or something. I mean, what was it, like $6 million behind or whatever? Like, it's not like, it's not like it was some terrible offer.
Dude, North Carolina linebacker Amari Campbell is in the portal. I think that's one of the first huge names. Amari Campbell from North Carolina is in the portal. That's one of the best edge rushers, quarterback pressure guys in the country. That's the first one where I'm like, oh wow, that is a big deal. That Bill Belichick's coming. Oh, time to get in the portal. That's not good.
Yeah,
that's not good. Yeah, as a Cub fan, I'm glad that they didn't get into this argument. I think it would be a mistake to pay him this money when you don't have pitching.
Right.
You can't have depth, in my opinion. Mike Smith, for someone to be paid as the highest athlete, you would think that the non-sports fans would have heard of him. I imagine just non-baseball fans have never heard of him. Yeah, probably. Probably. Is he a household name? I don't think he's a household name. But that's crazy money. Brandon, Dodger blueprint was to win 12 NL West championships, so they were already good, and then stars were icing. Mets throw money at has-beens and then trade them away.
Agreed.
Can you trade the Soto contract, though?
Well,
to like 3 teams. This is like putting your $10 million mansion on the market. How many buyers are there really for a $10 million mansion?
Yeah.
How many buyers are there really for a potentially $800 million contract? Not a lot. Maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Maybe the Yankees or the Dodgers, and that's probably it. I mean, that's a hefty number. Big Daddy Magic. Oh boy.
Here we go.
Absurd. Everybody knows Victor, Josh Allen, and who's Rhea Ripley? I don't know who that is. Are only at least they deserve to make over $50 million a year. Okay.
Okay.
I have no idea who Rhea Ripley is. Ray Ripley? Victor doesn't deserve to make $50 million a year. And let Josh Allen win something first.
Yeah.
How did that Bills game go for you yesterday? Great. Motivation for pro athletes, money and or championships in MLB. You can have both. You can. The guaranteed contracts in Major League Baseball are
wild.
Does baseball need a salary cap?
I don't know, man. I think that I think that Major League Baseball embodies the definition of like, hey, if you want to go spend your money, go do that. Like it puts it on the owner's shoulders, and I love that about Major League Baseball. I don't have to sit here and worry about like development per se, or like maximizing young kid player, because you can just go out and buy guys, and you can bring them in, and it's what all the athletes tweeting about the Soto contract are alluding to, which is, hey, should have learned how to hit the round ball with a round bat, instead of catching a football. Would have been paid a lot more money. Mainly because it's the hardest thing to do in sports. So,
Yeah, boy, Dion wants to make sure that kids know the difference between a bag and a blessing. Portal's open for business, friends. UW fan Jim, Adunze ran the routes on Sunday, but the Bears had defensive troubles. How many wide receivers can drop passes for the Bears in one game? Keenan Allen had 2 balls hit him in the chest. DJ Moore dropped 2 balls off his hands. And Rome Odunze again ran a route short of a first down. Oh, it doesn't matter. He dropped the pass. He did catch, 2 touchdowns yesterday. Caleb Williams is balling out. They got to get a defensive line, and they got to find some people that I'm just a little old Monty over here. George Kittle, you might want to cover him. I know.
He's terrible. He's Garbo.
Monty, you're just being hot take guy. I know.
Because it's garbage.
You might want to cover George Kittle. What do I know? What do I know? All right, before we get out of here today, bro, is this guy in New York City, this assassin that was in New York City? You can't tell me he's not trolling them. First of all, this was a professional hit.
Yeah.
This was not some pissed off guy who lost a bunch of money to health insurance. They'd have caught him. So let's quickly recap. So CEO of United Healthcare walking down the street in New York to go to a stockholders meeting gets shot and killed by a professional hitter. The guy covers his face, writes on the bullets that he intentionally leaves at the scene, the jackets. He writes messages against the insurance companies, gets on an e-bike, drives into Central Park, and they're like, oh, he ditched his backpack that was full of Monopoly money. Do you think he left that there on accident? No, he didn't. Do you think that was really him on those still shots of a different guy with a smaller frame? It wasn't. They think he left the city on a bus the same way that he came in. He's gone. He sent a message. And I'm fascinated by this case. I look at this thing and I say to myself, you are one brazen son of a biscuit.
Yep.
to have done that in this way, to write on the jacket, on the bullets, to leave them on the street, to get on an e-bike, have an evacuation route, have been there, I guess, for 10 days, and then leave Monopoly money in a backpack. I mean, I'm no vigilante fan, but that's as crazy as you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, it is, not to talk positively about what he did to that to the CEO, but I mean, it is about as clean as it gets. I mean, walk up right behind him, pop him, leave.
Not close to getting caught or identified.
Yeah, like not even close. Like and
you think a $50,000 reward's going to catch this dude?
Yeah. And if you look at the picture, you have a situation where people are saying that this is the same dude.
It's not the same guy.
And the hard part is that I think, to your point, this guy isn't that stupid where he would come in and show his face this way. Let's say it was the same guy, even though I agree, I don't think it's the same guy. Let's say it was, though. You really think a guy who was pulling this off would do that? Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance, dude. Come on.
Do they ever catch him?
No. Nope.
I don't think they ever catch him.
I mean, they may catch him a decade later or something. Something comes out here or there. Who knows? But
you'll never catch him.
It. Yeah.
You'll never catch him. The Monty Show, presented by our good friends at The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com. Back tomorrow. Much more NFL tomorrow. Much more Portal tomorrow. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Thanks for being here. Couldn't do this show without you guys. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.